Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Dillingham. I currently am the Senior Director for Product Development at the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety. I also serve here as a senior meteorologist, because that is actually what I am by trade, a meteorologist, and now working in the insurance industry and building science industry. So I just want to thank CID NextGen Academy for having me today. It's exciting to be able to kind of share my career path, and hopefully it will inspire some of you to see what kind of options are out there. I just spoke to one of my undergraduate advisors. I just spoke to a class of his last week, just talking about the different opportunities there are in meteorology. So I know I'm speaking to an audience that maybe focus a little bit more on insurance, but to let you know, I do have a job in the insurance industry. So there is a variety of things that you can do out there. So thanks again for having me today. So I just want to get into it really quick, and let's talk a little bit about my career and about how I got here. So you can see, like, I've got few photos, little collage here showing you a little bit different paths along my career. I'll start when I was a child. You know, I had always loved meteorology, loved weather, I guess, before I knew that it was meteorology, but I had always loved weather, but I actually was scared of it as a kid. But as I grew up, that fear turned to fascination, and then that fascination turned into a career path. And so that took me to the University of Georgia, where I earned my Bachelor's of Science in Geography and Atmospheric Sciences. And I also always had the goal of wanting to be a broadcast meteorologist, because I wanted to share the science of weather and try to share that with the everyday public, because science communication is something that's very important to us here at IBHS, and it's very important to the public, even if they may not know it. As some of you may have been exposed to recently, you know, we've had Hurricane Ian, we've had other events happen here in the U.S., and so there's certainly a message to resiliency and kind of understanding what's happening there and understanding what's happening in the weather. So science communication has always been important to me in some fashion. So when I went into school, you know, that's what I knew I wanted to do. So after graduating from the University of Georgia, I was also freelancing as a weather producer at CNN, where I had interned while I was in undergraduate school. And I really enjoyed that time there. That was kind of like my firsthand look of trying to communicate that science to the public and do it in a more professional way, right? And so after that point, I definitely wanted to go to graduate school. So I went to Texas Tech University, where I was able to do some severe storms research. This is a picture that I took back in 2009. This was the LaGrange, Wyoming tornado, which was part of the Vortex 2 tornado research project that summer. And it was basically the most well-absorbed tornado in history, because we had a crew of about 100 scientists that were all focused on this one storm, this one tornadic supercell. And here we are, my colleagues, Dr. Ian Giammanco and Dr. Frank Lombardo, there deploying right in front of this tornado. That's one of our StickNet instruments from Texas Tech University that I was honored enough to be able to work with. So getting to see the power of Mother Nature firsthand really helped that to hit home that much more to me, the need for communicating what's happening in the weather, what's happening in science. And ultimately, that's now translated into what I do here at IBHS, which is now building science. So, but after my graduate school career, I got my first on-air job in Lubbock, Texas, where I was also in graduate school. And you can see some photo there from my first local television job. I was an on-air broadcaster for weekends and mornings. And then about a year and a half after that, I moved back to Atlanta to CNN to become a full-time weather producer there, and did some on-air work there. And I was basically focusing on the graphics behind the scenes, developing the images that you see a lot of the times as they're talking over, creating the maps and all that. That was part of my job, as well as communicating and briefing the show teams of the morning in the newsroom of the weather for the day, and the weather stories that we're following. And then about after a year and a half at CNN, I made a decision to move over to the Weather Channel, where I just recently spent 9 years serving as a weather producer and broadcast meteorologist. At one point, I did co-host the show Weather Underground, which is still on the Weather Channel now, and also did a lot of severe weather coverage there as well. So in that 9 years, I saw a large number of disasters, really more than I can count, tornado outbreaks, hurricanes, floods, and wildfires as well. And there came a point a couple of years ago where, in 2018, it was after Hurricane Michael had struck the Florida Panhandle. And I'm watching this image of these poor people discussing to one of our field reporters about the the experience they had and how they were just so upset that their livelihoods had just been destroyed right in front of their eyes. And that was a turning point for me. And I think it was always there, seeing these disasters unfold, thinking, well, we've got to get people to understand the weather better and understand what's going on and how to stay safe. And as I'm sitting there watching these poor people talk about their experience in Hurricane Michael, I'm just like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be something that we can do. We've got to stop this from happening because I can't look at these images anymore. Little did I know, a few years later, that IBHS would come along and I'd have an opportunity here. So I decided to make that change and come over into IBHS. And so it was interesting now to have covered disasters for 12 years in broadcast meteorology and communicate the science and what's happening to the public. And now I've been able to take that knowledge and experience and that communications experience and translate that into the insurance industry, communicating building science, how the perils of Mother Nature impact our built environment. And so that's what we do here at IBHS. So now that I'm here, I just kind of want to show you a little bit about who we are and why we do what we do. So we are a research-backed organization that is supported by the property insurance and reinsurance industries. Our goal is to see how homes and businesses interact with the perils of Mother Nature. We focus on wind-driven rain, hail, and wildfires here. Our test facility has the unique ability to look and actually see how disasters unfold from the point of failure. We can put full-scale model homes into our test chamber, and we can see how do they respond? What are the vulnerabilities that we can identify? And I'll show you a video of that here in just a second. But we know that severe weather disrupts lives and livelihoods. It displaces family, and it causes emotional and physical and economic suffering for our communities. And so our goal is to try to educate people to learn about the buildings, use engineering practices, test modern building codes, current test standards, and see, are they good enough? Where are the areas that we can improve upon? And so that's our key focus here, because we want to prevent human suffering and try to reduce the damage footprint. And one of the ways that we do that is in our massive test chamber. You can see all these wind turbines are about 150 wind turbines. When cranked to full capacity, it could get up to about 120, 130 mile per hour wind speeds around the Category 2-3 hurricane. We have field deployments. We study hail. We have teams that go out and collect real hailstones, learn about them, measure them, 3D scan them, and then we can remake our own hail in the lab to more realistic characteristics. We can mimic wildfires. We see full-scale model homes that we can light on fire and see what are the vulnerabilities around the home, what's contributing to that home ignition. We look at wind and wind-driven rain, which is obviously common in hurricanes. We can see what facets of the home are most vulnerable to wind. How do we keep the wind out of the home and stop things like this from happening? And then also wind-driven rain, when we lose that roof deck or that we lose that the shingles off of our roof, what are the things that we can do? We can actually take the seams of our roof where it's put together and try to reduce the amount of water that's being seeped into our roofing, and then also leading to costly roof claims that, again, just cause more damage for the homeowner. So these are all the cool things that we try to do here in the lab. But there's certainly a component to on the policy side and education as well. And so what we do, we try and translate our science into actions, our science into products. And that's kind of what I do here. Obviously, you see I'm sitting here in a studio. This is oftentimes where we try to communicate this. We do shows for our members, insurance members, and do broadcasts for them, trying to teach them about things that we've observed in the field and current research that's ongoing here at our facility. So we try to turn that science into products. And you see this tweet here, we can demonstrate things like how a 2x4 can penetrate a brick wall. What wind speeds does that happen at? What can I do to keep myself safe? So when we share images like this helps to communicate how important it is to, during a tornado and a high wind event, to shelter into those interior most rooms of your home or of your business, wherever you are, to try and put as many walls between you and the outside as you can. Ideally, you would like to have a shelter, but in the event that you can't, interior room, lowest level is the best way to go. And this is how we can communicate some of these. You can see here we have a variety of products. As I mentioned, we look at the different perils of Mother Nature. We have hurricane ready guides, as well as thunderstorm ready and wildfire ready. We want homeowners and business owners to know what are some steps that I can do around my property to make sure that I'm in the best shape possible the next time a severe weather event moves through my area. We also can produce things like looking at hail damage. What are some things that I need to identify? We look at winter weather as well, looking at the vulnerability of grain bins and the I don't know if many of you remember the 2020 derecho that moved through Iowa in August of 2020. But this was just an information piece that we put out to kind of educate people, because we just saw these strong visuals, and we wanted to show people how that can happen. And then also here with wildfires, which we just launched our Wildfire Prepared Home designation program this past June. And so that's a designation program that shows a holistic set of actions that you can take to try and mitigate the likelihood that your home is going to ignite. And so you can find more information about all of these on our website, ibhs.org. wildfireprepared.org. That's where you can find more information about our standard. And at fortifiedhome.org, you can find more about our Fortified program. Our Fortified program is over a decade old, and that is a voluntary beyond code construction standard that helps you to build stronger. When it starts at the roof, we have fortified roof. That's your first line of defense against severe weather. So we've got different criteria that you have to meet for fortified roof. We also have fortified silver and gold, which are going to address other areas of the home, like the openings, the doors and windows, where wind can find vulnerabilities and get inside the home and cause things to happen, like that roof coming off the building that I showed you just a moment ago. So these are the things that we try to mitigate against here at IBHS, and we try to do that in a visual way to try and hit that science home and make an impact with people who are exposed to our research to try and build safer, more resilient communities. So I hope you enjoyed listening a little bit about my career and a little bit about what we do here at IBHS. So if you'd like to connect with me, I'm sure we can share some information. Find me on social media as well as Sarah Dillingham. And thanks so much again for having me today.